What's up, real world Twisted Luck? I hope everybody's good. Thanks for being here. I really do appreciate you. So I finally had some more time to do some more food testing, some more food experiments for magnetism, and we're going to address a couple of things in this video too. So we just tested a few more things. We did some more, it's another breakfast edition. We did some cereals and something else too. But we're not going to stick with just cereals, just so you know. It's not going to be like, we're testing all, like I've said, this is only the second video in this series. Like I said before, we're going to test all sorts of different things. And I had some cereals lined up. So the last video and this one, we focused on some cereals. Some of the results might surprise you. Spoiler alert, we did identify more magnetic foods. Now, I want to address a couple things. If you didn't see the last video, then go watch the first video. Especially if you're going to be like, it's just the iron. We completely debunked that in the last video. It's just not the case. We did an iron tablet in the last video too, but we have similar amounts of irons in different foods. Some are magnetic, some are not. So, a couple of suggestions people had made too. One person suggested maybe instead of the paper, use like I said, I experimented with several different ways to show you the best that I can, and I assure you what I'm doing is the absolute best that I can show on video. And I encourage anybody to go do it themselves, like some of you have, and that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear back when people say, holy crap, I tried this, and it's true. Because I wouldn't lie to you, I wouldn't BS you, I wouldn't make this stuff up. I find disturbing things, and I like to share them because, people should know. And I'm not making any claims. You have information, do with it what you want. Come to your own conclusions, make your own decisions. We're all adults here, right? But someone suggested maybe instead of paper, I use like picture frame glass, thin picture frame glass or something, to show that it's not the paper moving. And it's definitely, you can see in the video, it's not the paper moving. But I get it, and every once in a while the paper will move. And I like to point out that, okay, this movement is not magnetism, but you can clearly see what the magnetism is. So I did try that. I tried that with a thin glass from a picture frame and very thin plastic. Just doesn't work. So I'm using very strong magnets, rare earth magnets, and we're getting tiny little particles, right? So anything thicker than paper really is going to be very difficult to show the magnetism. And it just wasn't working, so I did try it. Now, I saw another comment, I think it was actually on a TikTok video that I put up of the same thing. Someone said, you're using a metal blade in the food processor, the grinder. Come on. No offense, but do you really think when you use a food processor, that many metal bits are shredding from the blade into your food? That's not a thing, right? People said this too when we find the magnetic dust. People are like, oh, it's a metal blade you're scraping it up with. That's what it is. I understand, and I understand that some people want to make other reasons because it's easier to digest than the reality that this may be nefarious, right? But it's not. It's not the metal. It's not the metal blade, I assure you. But just to show, in this one, I try to show the best that I can, even though I should be like, don't like it, go try it yourself. But, so I used some metal blade, and then I decided for the rest of today's experiments, just rolling pins. So everything was crushed, almost everything today was crushed with just a wooden rolling pin on paper. None of that is magnetic. So there go those excuses, right? And so I'm going to shut up now. We're going to get right into it, and we'll come back briefly. All right, we're starting out today with Fruit Loops. Who didn't love these things growing up? Going to get these things crushed up. Can't forget that one. Grind them up, crush them up. Now, for anybody to say the ridiculous theory that, hey, it's the metal blade, that's what's being magnetic. Bits of it are breaking off. We're going to fix that in a second, too. I always finish them off with the rolling pin to get them even more fine. There we go. We got a nice dust to test. Now, look close. Remember, I'm showing you tiny little things, and I'm doing the very best that I can to show you the clearest that I can. So you may have to look close at some of these. But this was actually one of our more magnetic things we tested today, Fruit Loops, which, by the way, have 2.4 milligrams of iron per serving. Now keep that in mind because that's going to come up again. 2.4 milligrams of iron, and it's one of the most magnetic things we tested today. It's going to come up again, I promise. Feel free to fast forward if you've seen enough, but I'm trying to show as much as I can, so those of you who want to see as much as they can, the best that they can. As I slowly move that rare earth magnet behind the paper, you'll see bits following the magnet around. I did try some other methods, and the paper is just the very best way, I promise. For anybody that thinks it's the paper moving, I promise it's not. But I always encourage people not to believe me, but go try it yourself, as some of you have, and that's awesome. I actually got a lot of magnetism visible in the Fruit Loops. I tested a lot more than you're seeing here. I narrowed it down just to show you a bit, show you enough. I was disappointed, and honestly, I don't know what to expect, but I'm never surprised anymore. But I was hoping maybe in our cereal magnet testing fruity edition marketed toward kids, we would maybe find less magnetic material in there, but that just wasn't the case. Now, like I mentioned, if anyone suspects that it's bits of blade breaking off every time you process food with your grinder at home, and you're consuming metal, and obviously your blade would be cut down to nothing pretty quick, but just to say we did, I'm going to crush up some more Fruit Loops using only the rolling pin, so it's just paper and wood with no blade used. Here we go, same ones from the same container, and we're just going to see, hey, maybe that person that said that was right. Maybe it's not magnetic anymore, and I'm a crazy person who's been eating metal, I guess. All of us, we better rethink our food processors and our grinders because we're eating shards of metal all the time by using it. So if this is not magnetic, looks pretty, huh? So neat. If it's not magnetic, that's the case. Let's see, and we're going to see that it's still just as magnetic. So there goes that one. And I can't say it enough for the very few people who complain about other people's experiments and think you can watch a video and debunk things and say it's this or it's that. Why not just do it yourself? But if those people don't care enough to do it themselves, why are they complaining about when other people do it? Sometimes I think it's just easier to swallow than the reality that we seem to have magnetic material in our food. Here come the Apple Jacks. Apple Jacks, and I actually decided from this point on in these experiments, I'm going to use only the wooding rolling pin because I always finish off with that anyway, and it's just easier and more of a mess. So my wife was thrilled about that part, and I got cereal dust and powder everywhere. But it works good, so look at that. All right, got it ground up really fine. And what we're going to see, you want to look closely, we do have some magnetism. Look over on the right bottom side, moving around. This one is actually one of the least magnetic ones I've tested yet. So much that I wasn't seeing it at first, and my wife pointed it out. She was like, hey, there it is right there. And I started looking, I said, oh, you're right, but it's small, not as much. And 2.5 milligrams of iron per serving. And if you remember, the very magnetic Fruit Loops we just did were 2.4. So if we're calling it iron, I don't know, make that make sense. And here we have Fruity Pebbles. Ah yes, kids love Fruity Pebbles. Sorry I don't have a box for this one anymore, it was in the container. But I assure you, it is the regular name brand Fruity Pebbles. So we're going to smash it up, pulverize it. This one actually looked kind of neat too. And very interestingly, Fruity Pebbles have 2.4 milligrams of iron per serving, identical to the Fruit Loops that have 2.4 milligrams of iron per serving. However, the Fruity Pebbles were one of the least magnetic things we tested today, while the Fruit Loops were one of the most magnetic things we tested today. So I just like to point out those iron comparisons because we should be seeing roughly the same thing. Now, if you're looking close, you'll see it here. It is there, moving that rare earth magnet up and down, back and forth. But this one is not as prominent as the Fruit Loops. But so far, we are 3 for 3. I keep expecting to find one that's not magnetic, and I've not found it yet. But we're about to move on to another one. Finish this one off, and then we're going to move on to the Captain Crunch Crunch Berries. Arr, aye, aye, Captain. So we're going to dig my hand in there. We're going to pull out mostly some crunch. So I'm going to have to go back in there and excavate some berries because we need crunch and berries. We got to be fair. So there are some berries hand selected for this test. Can't be just all crunch, you know. Got to have some berry. And we got to crush it up so we can test it. Same thing as all the others. And unfortunately, in the Captain Crunch Berries, we have magnetism. Probably similar to the Fruit Loops, but the Crunch Berries have 7.5 milligrams of iron per serving. In just a second, I'm going to point out a little area that I was focusing on, that I was seeing some extra magnetic bits were moving around. It's up there kind of towards the top middle of the pile, a little to the left of the middle, we got some things dancing around. If you may already be seeing it, but here, right in this area. So check out this area. I'm moving it around. That stuff seems very, very reactive to the magnet. So whatever that was just really stood out to me. We've got some other stuff in there, but that little area stuck out. And I'm just mixing it around just so we can change it up a little bit and see. And you'll see as I move the magnet around, bits of cereal or whatever's in it following the magnet around. Now, I just happen to have some Walmart brand Great Value oatmeal. And you know what I think of Walmart. I don't expect anything from oatmeal, but quickly, let's check it out. I couldn't get it ground up, so I had to use the processor. And nothing. There was no magnetism. It genuinely pains me to give Walmart any sort of props. But there was something funky here. It looked like a little ring. I haven't gone back to look on the video. I don't know if you've seen it, like this little black ring looking thing. And then it disappeared. It was very fine. I don't know if my magnet sucked it up or what it was. That was the only suspicious thing I had in this part, this oatmeal. If you saw it, let me know. But I didn't spot it again. It was very fine. Could have been, I don't know, a trick in my eyes. I don't know. Maybe it was nothing, but it looked weird. Other than that, there was nothing else. My views of Walmart still stand strong. So there you have it. You saw that, I used the rolling pin. On that first one, too, I initially did use the grinder, and then I decided, you know what, to eliminate the possibility of anyone saying, well, that one was the metal blade. And I know the majority, it was one person that said it, but I've seen it before on another magnetic video, so I don't have to do these things, but I just like to, you can never please everybody, right? There's always going to be someone that's like, even the magnetic meat, there was someone that said, he's putting glue on the magnet. That's ridiculous. Why would I do that? I'm not here to make ridiculous things like that. I'm here to point out observations that I make that are sometimes disturbing. And in this case, it's our food. We have magnetism in our foods. And what we have discovered so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Because we've only tested a few things, and almost all of them have been magnetic. The oatmeal that we tested was Walmart Great Value brand. So that one kind of not really surprised me. I honestly didn't expect to see oatmeal be magnetic. And it's kind of hard to grind up too. I actually put that one in the grinder eventually. So I guess Walmart was our winner today. It's the only thing not magnetic. Some more than others. All sorts of different irons. Again, or levels of iron. Again, I feel that it's not iron, and most people understand that, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, it's the cereal's fortified with iron. All of these are fortified with iron, right? And we have seen some cereals with the exact same amount, one very magnetic, the other not magnetic at all. So, that kind of throws that out there. So we're going to keep this up, and like I said, the next edition of this series will be some different things that we're going to test, not just, we're not sticking with just cereals. We'll come back and hit cereals at some point, I'm sure, and we're still taking suggestions. So throw in suggestions like many of you have already. What do you want to see tested? And, without being too crazy, I have to pay for all this stuff, So share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Are you disturbed? Thanks for being here. Twisted Luck Truth. I'll see you soon.